Knit fabrics have built-in stretch, which makes them different from sewing with woven fabrics, and those differences also apply to the way you lay out, cut, and mark patterns. The key to laying out, cutting, and marking knits is to handle the fabric as little as you can. In this video, we look at the best tools and techniques for the job. There are links to the tools and supplies used in this video in the description. Before you start, pre-press your fabric to remove wrinkles with a temperature setting appropriate for your fabric. With knits, don't slide the iron back and forth along the direction of most stretch to avoid distorting it. Identify the right side of the fabric. Most single knit t-shirt fabrics, such as jersey knit, have a right side with columns of knitting, called wales, while the wrong side is smoother and more indistinct. If your knit fabric curls at the cut edges, it will curl towards the right side. If you can't tell the difference, which is often the case with interlock and other double knit fabrics, pick a side to be the wrong side and mark it with some removable tape. There may be a subtle difference between the two, which is noticeable only after your project is finished. Fold the fabric for cutting with the right side facing inward. To keep the fold on grain, you can match selvages or measure from fold to selvage along the length of the fold to ensure the distance from fold to selvage is consistent. Without stretching the fabric, gently smooth out both layers so there are no ripples or wrinkles. It should rest freely on the cutting surface without any tension that could pull it out of shape and distort your cut. Don't let knit fabrics hang off the edge of the cutting table while cutting. That also pulls the fabric out of shape. Support the fabric at the edge with weights, with another piece of furniture, or just trim off the excess. To disturb the fabric as little as possible, lay out and cut as many pieces as you can in one go. Place as many pattern pieces as you can, then cut them as a group, transfer markings as a group, and finally remove the cut pieces from the table. The pattern should have a layout diagram. If you cannot follow the recommended layout or you have no layout instructions, lay out the largest pieces first, then fill in the gaps with the smaller pieces as best you can. A pattern piece with a place on fold marker places that edge along the fold of the fabric. Place the piece, then place weights or pins at the corners and edges. If a pattern piece has a grain line, it is best for it to run along the entire pattern piece. You can extend the pattern's grain line with a ruler, or simply by folding a crease in the paper along the grain line. Place the pattern piece, then at both ends of its grain line, measure the distance to fold or selvage to be sure they are the same. Once aligned, anchor the pattern piece at both ends of grain with pins or pattern weights to prevent shifting. Place additional pins or weights at the corners. Finally, place a pin or weight about every 8 inches or so along the sides. If you are using pins, try not to use too many because they distort the fabric. Some fabrics require you to lay out the pattern pieces in a nap layout, meaning no pattern piece is placed upside down with respect to the others. A nap layout is necessary with many fabrics that look subtly different based on direction or the angle they catch light, such as fleece, terry, and velour. Fabrics with a one-directional design or print also require a nap layout. Some pattern pieces require only one cut fabric piece. Cut those pieces from a single layer of fabric. You can often use fabric more efficiently by cutting double pieces as a single layer, as with these two sleeve pieces. Make sure to place the pattern piece reverse side up for the second cut to obtain left and right mirrored pieces. If your fabric is a scrap with no selvages to help you find grain, place a ruler on the fabric, align it with the fabric grain, and then align the pattern piece to the ruler. To cut knit fabrics, I recommend using pattern weights over pins and rotary cutters over scissors. Scissors are harder to use with knits because you must lift the fabric in order to get the scissors situated, which can stretch the fabric out of shape. To safely use a rotary cutter, always close the blade when you have finished a cut. Never place your hands in the path of the blade while cutting. And when making straight cuts, always use a thick, heavy ruler, such as a quilting ruler, as a guide to avoid the blade slipping while cutting. Hold the rotary cutter with blade vertical for an accurate cut. Guide the blade right against the edge of the fabric without trimming the pattern piece itself. If the fabric stretches or bunches in front of the blade, lift the cutter, allow the fabric to rest, then resume cutting. You can use a cutter with a small blade to cut tight curves and inside corners. Cut inside corners by going towards the corner from each side, then use small scissors to free any missed bits as necessary. After cutting a piece, check your cutting for accuracy. If you have drifted a bit from the edge, you can come back and trim off the excess. When removing cut pieces, you can use a small scissors to free any bits the rotary cutter may have missed. If this happens frequently, it's a sign that the blades are dull and in need of replacement. To cut with scissors, you cannot use pattern weights. Instead, you must pin the pattern pieces. Weights do not allow you to lift the fabric from the table while cutting. Lift the fabric from the table just enough to accommodate the scissor blades, to avoid stretching the fabric. Cut using long strokes with the fabric shears. Keep one blade resting on the table for stability. To cut inside corners, cut into the corner from each side. Use a small pair of sharp scissors to finish the inside corner. And if you find this tutorial helpful, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Transfer all notches, dots, fold lines, and buttonhole markings from the pattern to the cut fabric pieces. Don't neglect this step because the pattern marks are there to help you construct the project properly. Keep the cut pieces pinned or weighted until the fabric layers are marked for accuracy. To mark, shift individual pins or weights, keeping all layers joined. At notches, you can fold back the pattern piece, then mark in the seam allowance on both fabric layers. Use an erasable marker pen, chalk, or tracing paper, whatever allows you to make a precise and accurate mark. Chalk or light-colored tracing paper works best on dark fabrics. Or you can place a layer of tracing paper between the fabric layers, then roll a tracing wheel to mark them. Use a smooth or serrated wheel, but not a spiked wheel as that can damage the fabric. Don't transfer notches by making snips in the fabric as that weakens the seam. Especially with knit fabrics, it can cause a run in the fabric. To transfer marks inside the pattern, as for the placement of a pocket, place a pin through the pattern and both layers of fabric. Then, mark where the pin enters and exits the fabric on both layers. After marking is complete, unpin or remove the weights, then remove the pattern tissue. Tag each cut fabric piece on the wrong side with some removable tape to avoid confusion during construction. For more videos like this one, like and subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated.